Welcome to another episode of Why Bother with your host, John Szablewski, the show that didn't need to be made by a host that didn't want to make it. We are very happy to be here today, and I am very excited about my guest. You probably know him if you are from the Buffalo area. He is Kyle Mecca, a local film guru, a film director, an assistant director, and one of the big people on the film scene in Buffalo. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would love to bring my good friend up to the screen, Kyle Mecca. How you doing, Kyle?
Hi, John. I thought this was just going to be me and you.
Yeah, me and you and 1,000 of our not so close friends.
I thought you okay. Well, if we get 1,000, I'd be really happy.
If we can get 10, I'll be happy with that.
Exactly.
So, Kyle, I was doing the math earlier today, and I've known you since about 2011. So that's 9 years.
Oh my God.
9 years. Most people don't live to be 9. Yes, I used that joke in a previous episode. But so, Kyle, how do we know each other?
Oh man. So John and I both had the privilege of going to Buff State, and we went to the television arts program. John is a year younger than me, but was a year ahead of me in the program.
Take that, corporate America.
Exactly. So I joined after a year of doing electives, and then I joined the program and was able to get in because it's a prestigious 15 students a year put in. I think they accept more now. I'm not for sure. But anyways, so John was a year ahead of me, and John and I think we first met in Maureen Porter's acting class together. But that same semester, we also had Heidi Folletti's class, which was creative writing, or no, it was some kind of.
It was the short story course.
Short story class.
Short
yeah,
story.
I think so.
That oh my gosh, that's definitely taken back a little bit. Dr. Folletti, I had her for literature and film, where we would read the book and then watch the film adaptation, and then I had her in the short story class with you, where we learned about Russian literature, and we got to watch an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge.
Yes.
Rod Serling ripped off and put out the Twilight Zone.
Well, he bought it because it was the last season, and they were coming up. They were trying to fill her, and it won a festival, I think, in Cannes, and they're like, okay, bought it just to put a part of it. But I remember I took the same literature and film class with Heidi, and jump into a quick story. Sorry, going off on a tangent. But so our good old friend Joe Russell. So Joe Russell, wonderful guy, amazing filmmaker, editor, and all that. Started at Buff State. He moved to New York City. He worked with Viacom for a while and all that. Did a lot of editing for different shows, and now he's got his own little skits and stuff that he still does. And he does magic. So he wherever you would go, he would always be doing magic and stuff like that. Well, we were reading Carrie, and part of Carrie, it talks about telekinesis and moving objects and stuff like that. So when she brought it up, she's talking in front of the room, and she starts talking about, has anybody experienced being able to move objects on their own? And of course, he raised his hand. And she's like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I can move like pencils and like eyeglasses and stuff like that. And she came over to the desk, and she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, watch the pencil. And he went like this, and the pencil rolls a little bit across the desk. And she's like, can you come up to the front of the class and show us? And she asked for someone's glasses and put the glasses on the table, and he goes like this, and the glasses rose and flipped, and they fell. And she was freaking out so much that she was just like, okay, well, thank you so much, Joe. How long were you able to do that?
Now, to put it into perspective, this woman that we're talking about, she was probably like 5 feet tall. Very, very intelligent. I mean, she was just like a human like arsenal of just facts and ideas and knowledge, and you learn very quickly that if you want to do well, that you just gave her back the information she gave you. So I think by the first test, everybody in the course was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Now, anybody who is taking a class with her now, this is $500 worth of free advice. So just regurgitate those facts. I'm sure she's not going to watch this or hear about this ever. So but yeah, so that was funny. That was great. And Joe Russell, I believe, is also a stand-up comic in New York.
Yeah, he's stand-up and comic in New York and all that. And so that was our early beginnings. And then we had another 4 years of experiencing each other, and
just to put this into phrasing, as friends.
Yes. Sure, John.
Yeah. Just friends, you know.
That's why we made Friends Without Benefits to clear things up. That's why.
We're going to talk about that later. So, television film arts program, 2009 I began. So you probably started in 2010 or so. And in case you're not aware of that, it's one of the most prestigious programs at SUNY Buffalo State. They only take 15 students a year. Lucky for me, I was on the waiting list, so I must not have been that prestigious. And I got to wait an entire year thinking that, my life was over. I leave high school, I can't go to film school. What am I going to do with my life? Everybody doesn't have the luck that Kyle does to have a boulevard of green lights.
You always say that.
So television film arts, Buffalo State, great program. And a lot of the people that are going to be on this podcast are affiliated in some way, shape, or form with TFA. Lou Rera was one of our former guests. He was a professor until he retired. I was a student there. Kyle's a student, and we have a few other people that are slated to appear on the show who also are affiliated. So I want to take you back until to spring 2011, Kyle.
Jeez.
And there's a film project entitled Destiny Incorporated.
Oh my God.
Now, that was my senior film. And the concept behind this film, and I think this is what got Kyle interested in helping me out, and that's how we became friends, was that Fate Tapestry was in charge of the to-die list. And on her desk was a stack of files of everybody that was supposed to perish and when they were going to do it. So Lucifer, the devil, obviously wants to help speed up the process, and he knocks over the to-die list and he messes it up. And they pick out a guy because he needed 26 souls that month to win the Employee of the Month award, and he needed double letters. So Zachary Zephyr, ZZ, and Kyle Mecca, you played Zachary Zephyr in the film Destiny Incorporated. Talk about that experience.
Oh my God. Man. I loved when there was a one-person crew. Let's just say, back in the day when it was John at camera, audio, directing, and doing everything else, and
it looked like it.
Oh yeah. But I gotta say, I think what benefited us, and it benefited you big time for that short, is that if you looked at a lot of the old television and film arts program, like shorts and even the senior projects, everybody who was in it as actors were the television and film arts students. There weren't real actors. There weren't people studying theater. It was just kind of like, okay, John, you could be my main actor. Kyle, you be my main actor and all that. Where we took a theater class and were introduced to a bunch of theater students as well, and including Kaylee Peters and Brandon, I can never say his last name.
Makajewski.
There you go. And you know what I mean? So we met these people who were able to join us, and I think that what's made it unique for you is that you expanded that outlook for that, and it was able to bring more personality to your characters, especially for a script that was very, very bubbly and very, very tongue-in-cheek. And 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 I gotta say, like, no matter what John writes, I always laugh at. And with that, I think it's a very high concept thing, and there was a lot of things he came up with. It was just unfortunate we didn't have the access to make it look high concept. It just
it was rough too, because we had like 2 days to do it, and I remember we went into the basement of the Bulger Communication Studio, and there was just like this little area, and I remember at instructional resources, and there was a woman that was sitting there, and she was like the secretary, and I said, I'm working on a film, can we film down here? And she's like, sure. So she moved her entire stuff off the desk into the room next door, and she just allowed us to film in there, which was really bizarre. So we learned very quickly, because this film was shot on mini DV tapes.
Oh yeah.
Which I think was the last time we ever used that. The first and last time, because then we decided to upgrade to DSLRs with the Canon 60D. Now, we moved on from Destiny Incorporated. It goes into the Film Forum, which the Film Forum has definitely gotten a lot more advanced as time has gone on. It's a little more cutthroat. At that point, if we got a film finished, they were happy to show it because it was such a monumental feat.
Oh, yeah.
So, I was one of 6, but it was fun. It was great cast. So we then move on probably later on in that month, or a few months later, to Tail. That Kyle made, and that introduced me and Kyle to a local actor, Scott Kwiatkowski, who unfortunately just passed away a couple years ago. And Tail is a great story. So why don't we talk a little bit about how that worked out?
Yeah, so you made Destiny for your senior project, and then it was a year later when we did Tail, leading up to it, which is funny because in the fall semester is when we took, I forget all the names of the courses and all that, but where we did shorts. And the one short that I wrote, I was inspired by Destiny Inc. with using the Grim Reaper. Mm-hmm. And I wrote one called Reap What You Sow, which starred Mary Grace Saleo and Mike Fitzpatrick, who are friends of mine. And we met one of them in met Mary Grace in our theater class. And I came up with the concept of kind of like how the Santa Claus is. Santa Claus died, grabbed the red suit. Well, this was with the Grim Reaper. What happens if you accidentally kill the Grim Reaper? You become the Grim Reaper. So the character of Mary Grace played, unfortunately, became the Grim Reaper. But I had the person who played the Grim Reaper from Destiny Inc. play the same one for mine. So it was kind of like a cinematic universe for TFA began right there. And so then the next semester in the spring of 2012 is when I did my senior project, which was Tal. And for that, I actually wrote the script for that short the first semester in TFA. We were all writing our first scripts and stuff like that, but I just held on to it because I'm like, okay, I want to do something ambitious. So I decided to do a car chase in a TFA film. And, but again, it was only a couple of us. I felt like I was the only one of the first TFA people to actually use a director of photography at the time. A lot of the directors and filmmakers, they kind of just, it was either one person shooting every single film, or it was, I'm grabbing it and learning it all myself. I was able to bring in a friend of mine, Dan Skoldberg, who did wonderful work, and had him be my director of photography, brought in Brian Purcell to do audio, and he also camera opt. But it was like a 3-4 person crew, including John. And that was it. And we only shot in like 3 or 4 days and got cameras and put them in the back of cars and drove all over Buffalo and got what we needed. And it was something different where I was like, I wanted to use minimum amount of people, theater people that I met, and make it look like outside of Buffalo State. Because unfortunately, it seemed like another thing was that everybody used Buff State as their setting of their movie.
Yeah.
Like nobody went anywhere else. And mine was, I'm going in a car, we're driving somewhere, we're using a place that looks like a hospital, we're using an actual automotive shop, like we're using real places. But unfortunately, because of time and all that, I ended up shooting it in black and white. And originally, I wanted to actually rotoscope the car, which was actually this really, really bright yellow, which was a friend of mine, Joe's Casterlines. I wanted to rotoscope that to be the only color in the movie. But we ran out of time because, of course, Lou Rera gave us deadlines. And
what nerve!
And so I was never able to do that. But I was very, very happy with it. And I was able to submit it to the SUNY Wide Film Festival. And it got it placed somewhere in there. I can't even remember the placing. But that was a lot of fun. But I think that's especially what you mentioned before. We met Scott. And Scott, people of Buffalo knew Scott from theater for years and how wonderful he was. And I was able to bring in such a talent to just a small little role. And for me, for that small little role, it was all about, I needed someone who was able to be emotive through their eyes, because they don't really say that much, but a lot of emotional things happen in a small, and that was something Scott was able to do wonderfully, and just brought the movie to another level.
He was definitely somebody that really was excited to be a part of everything, whether it was films, theater. Now, going back to Scott, the interesting thing was Kyle and I were working on a film project. We wanted to create we wanted to do a full length, but then it got to the point where we weren't going to be able. It was just too much. So we decided to write a superhero comedy. Now, the superhero comedy had a lot of preliminary starts. First, I hate superhero movies. So why would I do why? So the idea was that I was going to screenwrite it and then Kyle would direct it. So we were sitting in that same class, that short story class, and we were talking about what we wanted to do. And I said, wouldn't it be funny if it was just a mundane life for these superheroes? Like they were just going to work, but there was nothing for them to do. So Robert's Rules of Order was thrown out as something like they're just sitting there, they're calling out that people are missing stuff at these meetings. And I actually got the book from the library and I'm reading it to Kyle and he's like, it's funny, but we're the only two people that are going to find this funny. So then it went into, we talked about something stupid has to happen to these two superheroes. And I don't remember how we got around to it, but we decided that a double hip replacement was the stupidity that was just good enough to be what our two superheroes needed. So the whole idea was that these two superheroes were middle-aged. There was no crime because crime was outlawed, and Sidekick needed a double hip replacement, but his health insurance benefits had been terminated. So what did they do? What did they do, Kyle? What did they have to do?
They create crime so they can get their benefits back.
And the title of the film was Friends Without Benefits. Starring Buffalo's very own Tim Joyce and Dan Danforth, which a fantastic duo for this movie. So we shot this movie for like 12 shooting days. Like it was nuts. And mind you, ladies and gentlemen, listening to this, we didn't have like we both worked. Kyle and I both worked. We went to school full time. We had all this stuff to do. And on top of this whole thing, we decided, we want to make this movie. It was a nightmare, especially because we didn't have money. So how did we get the money, Kyle?
Well, we didn't really have a director of photography either. We went through like 2 or 3 while we were doing it.
Sometimes on the same shoot day.
Yeah, exactly. So what we did is we decided to do a Kickstarter, which that was huge back then. I felt like that was probably the first year that they started that. And we said, why not? Let's try to do some type of fundraising to get it. And what did we ask for? $5,000? Was it
$5,000? Yeah.
Yeah, and we failed.
Yep.
But what did we end up with? Like 25 or it was
Yeah,
like half of it was like half of it. Yeah. So, but unfortunately with Kickstarter, you have to reach your goal in order to get, they changed the rules. So I think now you can still get the money, but they take a percentage off. Back then it was like you needed to hit a level in order to actually get it. But even though that failed, that was a huge stepping stone for learning how to crowdfund, learning how to raise money, because when we went into what you and Lou talked about yesterday, Big Driver, we did the same exact thing. We sat there and said, okay, let's do a Kickstarter, and that we were successful with. And I forgot how much we raised for that, but it was maybe like $5,000 we actually got or something like that. Yeah. And
I think we were also the first TFA student project to raise money.
Yeah, we were. There was no such thing back then. Yeah, I was going to say. And now, every single year with these pilots, they do it. They Indiegogo, they get a budget, they make it happen, all that. That didn't exist when we did it. Yeah. This was a side project. This wasn't even associated with the other films we needed to make for the school. This was like, no, we loved the script. We loved the actors involved, and we just wanted to do it. And we're able to raise money, even though it was non-successful, but to learn that curve. Yeah. And then going into Big Driver, we did that. And then when I got into Dwelling, we ran a successful campaign that brought in close to 15,000 for Dwelling. So, yeah, I guess, all of it's been a learning experience from the very, very beginning, and hipping and hopping all the way up.
Definitely. And I think something else that I didn't think about it until we talked about it right now, is that we didn't know. You and I went into film school with like a story background, a writing background. Yeah. We didn't really know much about technology. We had to teach ourselves an awful lot of stuff. And a lot of the stuff that we learned on doesn't even exist anymore.
No, not at all.
And we just graduated like 7 years ago. It's not like it's not like it's been like 100 years. So it didn't exist. So I think, not to toot our own horn, even though I'm going to, we were like trailblazers in that we wanted to do this, and we had to find a way to do it. And we learned. And after that, we found that there was a lot of success. And I have to say that we probably would not have had the ideas to do the Friends Without Benefits Kickstarter had it not been working with Jeff Hirschberg and Lou Rera on a short film entitled Maxed Out. And I'm hoping that Jeff gives me the green light and thumbs up, because he said, wouldn't it be nice to get a shout out in that episode? So there you go. So we worked with them on their Kickstarter campaign, and they raised a significant amount of money for that thing. And we got to work in Rochester, New York, with them on the Maxed Out shoot. I will talk more about that on Jeff's episode. I don't want to take any more time, but that was a great experience for us, and then that brought us into our project.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot too, and I'm sure Kyle will agree with this. We were really bad at continuity. Yeah. And not just like what's happening in the scene, but like knowing like you should use the same model of camera if you're going to do different angles, or you should use the same settings. I don't know. And if we had gone to film school today, I have a feeling with our story approach, our stuff would look a billion times better. Not that it looked bad, but we were used what we had,
Yeah.
But I think that we would have been a little farther ahead, maybe.
No, I absolutely agree. And I've actually had the pleasure the last 3 years to actually work for Buff State for the Television and Film Arts program. Every fall, when each graduating class does their television pilot, the last 3 years, they've actually brought me in to be a SUNY representative. So it's my job to make sure that, there's no fires, but also help guide them and teach them and be there as kind of like a mentor for the thing. And I was going to say the talent every single year has blown me out of the water, and we were nothing. We had nothing compared to that. And you know what I mean? We just they know their cameras, they know how to shoot, they know every single little, they know how to edit, they know audio, everything, technicality. And a lot of the people, and I think I have to give credit to Jeff and Lou and AD, is because they did a wonderful job of now bringing in people that weren't just storytellers like we were, who were just coming in for writing. They brought in people who knew the technicalities coming in. Yeah. They wanted to be directors of photographies. They wanted to be gaffers. They wanted to be grips and electrics and editors and sound engineers, and even like getting into art department. So it's incredible to see, or actual producers. Like I don't think we understood what a real producer was, even though we were producing these movies.
I still have a feeling that even in Hollywood, people don't know what a producer is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because and we'll get more to that in a little bit about the producers, but go on.
Yeah. So and watching these students do this stuff was wonderful to see, and doing it so much better that even any of us would have been able to do. And every single year progressing, and you can see the talent growing and growing and growing. And now I'm working with them. I'm working with these students, and they're coming right out of college in Buffalo, and they're getting into film unions. They're getting into unions. They're able to get their cards and be right into film. And it's wonderful to see. And I love doing it because it's almost like a, who can I pick to join the family whenever I do it? Because it's like, okay, you're proving yourself. I'd love to give you a recommendation, because Buffalo is a film family first and foremost. And I love seeing these kids excel and jump to the next level that I can call them equals. And yeah, it's nothing compared to what we had.
It's awesome. It's so cool to, so every year they TFA has an Oscar night, and they offer awards to the best student-made films, and they ask the alumni from the program to vote. Unfortunately, this year I was not able to participate because with my day job as a teacher, I was pretty swamped. But I did watch them after the fact. I was very impressed with.
It's totally different ball game, now.
Yeah.
And I got to say, John, you were a 3-time best dressed winner at the TFA?
I was, yes. My $12 tuxedo from Amvets. 3 times. Now, Kyle, one of the really awesome things about TFA is that the opportunities we had. Now, we have two things that we both participated in throughout our time. First was going to the Toronto International Film Festival in September, which I have to say I haven't been to in a while. Not because I don't want to go. It's just things have come up, right?
Pandemic, yeah.
Pandemic. I was out of work for a little while. It's all that stuff. So that was funny. But the Toronto Film Festival, we got so many opportunities there. We got to meet, and I'm just going to rattle off some names here. And you probably met them because I was there and you were there, and we were pretty much inseparable. So Martin Sheen, Bryan Cranston, Bill Gates was in the hotel that we were staying at, the Fairmont Royal York on Front Street in Toronto.
We clearly want a discount now.
Yes, I'm trying to get them as a sponsor for a previous. Let's see what else. Nick Cannon, and then the funny thing about Nick Cannon, and this was a year that we weren't there with school. Yeah. We were walking down one of the streets, and a big, when you go to the film festival, you can tell that somebody is famous because they're in a giant SUV, black SUV.
Like black Escalade, windows are as dark as can be.
Yeah, it's like $200,000 for this vehicle. Oh, yeah. And, they got someone in it. Anyway, this truck pulls up, and Nick Cannon is right there. And I'm like, oh, hi. He's like, hey, how you doing? And it's just like, they're so approachable. Yeah. Very, very cool. So the Toronto Film Festival, do you remember any of the films that you saw there that really stood out to you?
Let's see. First year there, what did we, I think what the cool thing about with TIFF, and it was something that we needed to learn, is that you know, the program was able to give us this awesome thing where we were there for what, 2 or 3 days, and we were guaranteed to go to at least like 3 films.
Yep.
But then it was also learning the game of that you can go to way more than that. You just have to learn how rush calls work, or calling ahead and stuff like that,
and how money works,
and being able to get up there early and manage your time. And not only that, but there's so many different events going on. Mm-hmm. So for me, the first year, a lot of the films that we were kind of like given right off the bat, I really don't remember that many. I really don't. But I remember rushing a lot of, like Cloud Atlas, which was, I still don't think it's over. I still think it's going on. What else?
Martian.
The Martian. And we saw, which we rushed, and we missed Ridley Scott talking, and whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
What else did we say? So now I'm blanking on so much.
Yeah. It was like, I remember my first year there, we went to go see a documentary called Boxing Gym. And I sat with Lou Rara, and we looked at each other, and I was like, this is going to be a long weekend, isn't it?
I was going to say, I think my first movie was actually an animated movie, and it was A Monster in Paris, which actually I think is on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And I was going to say, then we saw, who was that? God Bless America? Did we see that one together? I can't remember now that.
I'm trying to remember what that was about. Was that the one about?
It was like he goes on like American Idol, and he ends up like threatening everything online. It's one of the Bill Murray's brothers. Joel Murray was in it.
Yeah. Okay.
It was that we saw that there.
Sarah Palin, you betcha.
Yeah,
that was great.
But
I loved every second of it.
Much Ado About Nothing. Your favorite, which was Kevin Smith film called Tusk.
And we're gonna. It's on the list to talk about. We'll get back to that.
Okay. Anyways, but there was. We went to what 5, 6 over 2 days.
6 years. Oh, 6. Films. Yeah.
And we've done it for 6 years. And actually, my last year I went. I think it was 2 years ago now. Me and my buddy Adam, we went up because I was able to score tickets to. We went up there on the chance to try to go to the premiere of the new Halloween movie, and they were premiering there. We stood in line for 5 hours, but we got tickets, and we got tickets because we were probably 10 in line, and they were only taking like 15 people. It was incredible. But we got to see that. We got to see Jamie Lee Curtis and David Gordon Green and all that. But that was the last time I was there, and now, of course, everything else has gotten in the way since then. But I would love that. And then we had the chance to go to Tribeca as well.
And that's on the list too. So don't get too far ahead of us, because we got to come back in there. So September 6, 2014, my life was forever changed because I was witness to one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, directed by Kevin Smith, called Tusk. It was atrocious. And this is when I decided that Kyle, Mecca, and I might need to part ways when it comes to film preference. What a terrible film. Not only was it just hard to watch, but the shock value and stupidity just reigned supreme. So that was part of the Midnight Madness, right?
Yeah, that was Midnight Madness. Yeah, for sure.
Ryerson University in Toronto would have a midnight showing. So it would start at like 12:01, and tickets we had to get like in advance. And it was funny because that same day, we saw an awesome event, which was the Jason Reitman live script read of Boogie Nights. So in case you don't know, Jason Reitman, film director, is the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed Ghostbusters, and I'm sure other things that I'm just forgetting right off the top of my head. I'm sure there's people that are going to be commenting like, how stupid can you be, John? You should know these names. Anyway, so
and now Jason Reitman's directing. He just directed Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is the sequel.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
So he's keeping it in the family.
Yes.
Anyway, so the live script read was an awesome experience because they would take a film and they would read the script. And the first year we saw that, it was Boogie Nights, and it had like Dakota Fanning and like Jason Sudeikis
Josh
and
Brolin,
Josh Brolin,
Olivia Wilde.
Yeah,
yeah, it had a ton of people in there.
And then so that was great. And then the next year they did it again, and we went to see a movie that I think is the most overly hyped film.
Here we go.
The live script read of The Princess Bride.
That was an amazing experience.
Yes,
sorry,
it was
for me, maybe not for you, but for me.
I have never been so bored. Anyway, the exciting part of this thing was not necessarily the film that they read, but that you got to see the people.
Yeah.
And I never remember this guy's name, but he played the young guy in the film.
Cary Ellis.
Cary Ellis. He was there and he reprised his role. And Kyle, what is the line that makes every woman swoon?
As you wish.
Oh, and I just vomited. My internal mind just vomited at that.
And the cool thing was Rob Reiner, who directed A Princess Bride,
yep.
They brought him in to play the grandfather. Mm-hmm. So he was doing the lines as the grandfather. They had Rachel McAdams as Princess Buttercup. Donald Glover was there. I'm trying to think. There was a ton of people there too.
And it was a great cast. And then there were, you would tell like whoever was in the town at the time, because obviously it was all the filmmakers and actors and actresses for the big event. They would be there, and it was great. And then the third year we went back, and they didn't have it again.
Yeah,
so
they got away from it, and then I think last year they brought it back, but they. Whatever they chose, they weren't able to get the star power as they normally do. And Jason Reitman started the live script reads back in LA and was able to bring them to, because they've done like The Apartment,
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, they've done. Yeah, I was going to say they've done a ton. And I really hope that they bring that experience back, because it's such a different thing to see, especially, and it breaks it up a little bit from movie to movie and movie.
Yeah, it's so cool. All right, so we're going to move on. 2012, April, TFA goes to the Tribeca Film Festival, the one and only time they've been there, and we got to go. So I was talking to Jeff Hirschberg, who was the former director of the program, and I was telling him a story, which I thought was so funny. So I had never been to New York City. I don't think you had been to New York City.
No, that was our first time. Yeah,
it was the first time. And it was great. We got to spend 8 hours on a bus at 2 a.m. And I had a seat to myself, and Kyle didn't like that. So he decided to sit next to me and take up all the space. But anyway, I forgive him. Anyway, so we get to New York City, and we're staying in down on Canal Street at the Sheridan Inn. I don't know why I remember this, but I do. And every morning we would all get together, and the department would all meet. And Jeff comes to us and says, well, he comes to me, and you're with me, so obviously, we were inseparable. He says, guys, you got to come with me to this talk back. And I said, talk back. And at the time, I worked for Chipotle Mexican Grill.
Yeah.
And he said, John, you got to go. They're doing a whole thing about marketing, and the chief marketing officer of Chipotle is going to be at this thing, and you need to go. And I said, Jeff, I want to go see Times Square.
I tried to leave work to come here.
I left work to be here. So,
and if you don't let me do that, I'm going to unleash E. coli into all the lettuce in Chipotle.
Yes. And fun fact, 3 months after I left, that happened. Anyway,
it worked.
So, in no way, shape, or form, I'm still a loyal Chipotle fan, and I do not want to get sued by Chipotle. Anyway, so we go to Tribeca, and I think the experience of being in New York was a great time. The film's lackluster, but we go to see a film that was one of the most disturbing films, and I looked it up. I can't find anything. I think it's called Policia.
Policia, yes. Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and there's a scene in the film where a woman drops her baby on the concrete. And to me, I said, I don't understand what the purpose of that in the film had, because it didn't do anything to forward that boring thing anyway. And we just heard a kid. That's all that really happened with it. But who was in the audience that night that we had a long?
No, it's a different one. That
Oh.
was for Headshot. So we went to Headshot.
Yes.
Is where he was. Yeah.
Headshot. So Kyle and I leave Headshot, and we go, and there's a Philip Seymour Hoffman, a lookalike, in the audience. And I say to Kyle, I think that's Philip Seymour Hoffman. And Kyle says, no, why would he be here? I said, I think it is. So we got blah, 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 blah. And like a year later, I'm on the internet and I find something about this movie because it finally got like wide distribution or something like that. And lo and behold, Philip Seymour Hoffman was in that same showing that we were in. So that night, we go out onto Canal Street and we're going back to our hotel. And a character actor who we all know and love, you might not know his name, is walking in front of us. And I couldn't remember his name, and Kyle couldn't remember his name. Kyle, who was it?
No, I'm blanking. Oh my God. What's his name?
Richard Kind.
Richard Kind. That's who it was. Yeah. And it was hilarious because Richard Kind, I knew him from my mom and I used to always watch Mad About You. And Richard Kind was an occurring character on that, and he's a character actor for forever. And he also did the voices in A Bug's Life. He's like the one grunt grasshopper. He just was in Inside Out. He plays the one imaginary friend in Inside Out. But I knew him from all these different things. And John's like, no, you know what? I swear he's from The Nanny. So we bring up IMDb.
At the hotel bar.
Bar.
I'm telling the bartender that we saw him and how excited I was. But go on.
And so it brings it up. He was in one episode of The Nanny, which shows you how devout John is a Nanny fan.
He was a cab driver for like 35 seconds. Oh my gosh. So we're following Richard Kind, and he's eating his falafel. on Canal Street. And I wonder to myself, he's looking a little off.
Yeah.
So maybe we should approach him. So we go down into the New York City subway, which is always a joy. And on the platform across the way from us, there he is getting onto the wrong subway. So we do that. And then, I don't know if you were here with me, but while we're on the Tribeca, we were given a challenge to get a celebrity to say hello to TFA. And I'm sure if Simon O'Keefe is watching this, because he is the person who took the film of it. And you know, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I am just name dropping. Kyle is just name dropping. And these people are important, and they are to us, and they will be to you one day, our loyal fans. So, and you know what? I think TFA should just fund this episode. So whoever's got the checkbook over there. So, do you know the story? I think you know the story.
Yeah, it was Rachel Dratch, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, Rachel Dratch. And she was in we went to go see a collection of shorts, a short film.
Yeah.
I think she was in like Teacher of the Year. Yeah. I think that's what it was called. And I was like, I'm going to go. So Simon had his film going. I walk up and I'm like, do you have Rachel? Could you do us a favor and say hello, TFA and Buffalo State College, and welcome to the Tribeca Film Festival? And she did it.
And there's the video. Show it, John.
I don't got it. And she did it. And I'm still waiting for my $50. But I have gotten a lot of free coffee over the years, so I think we're even. All right. So moving forward, 2014, Kyle, Mecca, and I get onto the Amtrak, and we go to New York City because our good friend Jeff Hirschberg is directing an event at the Writers Guild of America East at Lincoln Center. Oh my gosh, I don't know how I remembered all those details. But and we go and we see this reading of two pilots, And that was great, fun. But that's not the big part of what happened to us in New York City while we were there. A couple things. One, this just goes to show how completely oblivious we are to what's happening in the world around us. So at the time, our cell phone reception was not very great. And we're walking around New York City and we're up and down in the subways. And Kyle's mother gives us a phone call and we don't pick up because we're in New York. We're young, we're college graduates. We don't want to talk to mom, right? So we're still walking around. I get a phone call from Kyle's mom. I didn't even know she had my number. I'm getting Facebook messages from Kyle's mother. Apparently, while we're there, there's like this huge explosion in Manhattan. And across all the news outlets, it's saying Buffalo State graduate dies in explosion in New York City. No idea why we had no idea about this. So in hindsight, I guess we probably should have answered the phone. Yes. So then the next day comes along, and Kyle and I have a pretty open schedule, right? And about 5 months earlier, Jimmy Fallon had taken over the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
So we said, well, we're going to go to Rockefeller Center, and we are going to try to get tickets to see Jimmy Fallon in the Tonight Show. And Kyle, were we able to get tickets?
Yeah, we did. I can't remember how long we were out because it was raining a little bit there, but we got in, and that night, originally it was supposed to be. There was a role supposed to be played by Nathan Lane.
Well, yes. Right? So we didn't get to go see Jimmy Fallon do his show.
Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we weren't able to get Jimmy Fallon, but we were like, okay, what can we do? And we ended up getting tickets to a play called
It's Only a
Play. It's Only a Play
by Terrence McNally. Yep.
And originally Nathan Lane was like the star of the show. He was like the director or whatever was in it, and but he hadn't been on Broadway, so he was being filled in by Martin Short. And
yes.
And it was actually I really enjoyed it, and it was cool to see such a just comedic genius like Martin Short at bay, because you know that when he takes on a role, I'm sure he does things differently than what Nathan Lane would do.
Yes.
They come up with things. But after the show, of course, who's sitting three rows in front of us, directly in front of us, but Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon, his sidekick, I forgot, Steve. Yes. What's his name? Steve, whatever it is.
Yeah. And Lauren Michaels.
And Lauren Michaels. Yeah, that was really cool. So we lucked out.
We got to see Jimmy Fallon. So then after the show, the cast does its bows, and they do the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS fundraiser. And Martin Short had just written a book, which I have here, and I'm going to be posting a link on our page to Amazon so you can purchase it. It's called Martin Short, I Must Say, My Life is a Humble Comedy Legend. And inside of it, ladies and gentlemen, inscribed on the 25th of March, 2015, he wrote, "It's only a book, Martin Short, Hugs and Kisses." So, John Szablewski says, "Kyle, we need to go to the stage door after the show." And we decide that I have this book, and I bought this book for $50, mind you. And I've never spent $50 on anything of this sort. But I said, this is a great opportunity to get a photo op. So Kyle and I go and we stand at the stage door. And in this same cast, mind you, is Stockard Channing, who obviously played Rizzo in Grease. And she also played Mrs. Bartlett on The West Wing. And Stockard Channing comes out of the stage door, and I'm standing right there at the gate, and she looks at me, and the look of disgust that comes over her face as she walks to her car, I'll never forget. But Kyle and I are standing there, and nobody's coming out, and nobody's coming out. And John's wearing a blazer sports coat that he had just purchased the week before on clearance at JCPenney. Now, the whole phrase "you get what you pay for" is all going to mean something at the end of the story. So, Kyle, what happens to us while we're in line?
John, I really can't remember.
Oh my gosh. So, Kyle, there's a torrential downpour.
Yes. Okay. So we got poured on, and then we got an autograph though.
By Micah Stock, who was a Tony-nominated actor. And when I asked him for an interview for the website I worked for, he said no. Anyway, go on.
That's all I really remember from that and all that.
Well, the suit coat that I was wearing got soaked, and the dye from the
That's what it was. Oh my God.
Started running down my pants and puddling at the ground. So I did not get a picture with Martin Short.
And we got snubbed by Matthew Broderick too. I think he just ran out and just took off too.
He had places to be.
Whenever I go to New York, it's always pouring, so it's hard for me to determine when it's not. Honestly.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're making great time here. I told you we're going to run along, so we're moving on here. Okay. So I worked. I'm a theater critic as one of my 47 jobs to keep afloat in this economy, and we got to go and see some of our favorite actors perform at the University of Buffalo in From Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
And the two of them were Brad Sherwood and Colin Mockery, who I had the opportunity to interview the week before. So, Kyle, after the show, what did we get to go do?
Well, we were able to go backstage, and we actually got to meet them. And I got to say, for being huge, both of us were huge fans of Whose Line. It was really awesome because we actually had to see that these two people were very, very humble. They were very, very approachable. Colin was still funny.
Yes.
In his dry and eccentric way, but that we were actually able to, stand there and have a conversation with them. And it wasn't one of those where they were like, okay, move along. It was just like, okay, we're here. We have nothing else to do,
Yeah. I will say that the assistant that took a picture of us with her or with them, it was the most blurry picture I've ever seen in my life.
Because she didn't care. That's why.
She didn't care. But it was funny because you get to see them in their element, and the show was great. And the Mousetrap game.
Oh, that was wonderful.
It's great. And if you don't know what the Mousetrap game is, it's when the improvisers put 100 live mousetraps on the stage. They take off their shoes and they blindfold themselves, and they have to do a scene while walking across the live mousetraps.
Oh, yeah.
If you can find it on YouTube, you definitely have to do it. It is fantastic. All right, real quick, we're going to look at some of these comments that we have here. Lou Rera asks, how does he rate a cool background? I don't know, Lou. We tried. And Lou Rera says that Heidi, who we spoke about earlier, is afraid of electrical outlets. Rick Herrera says, yo, what's up, Kyle Mecca?
Rick. Wow. Rick. I was going to say, that's going back, man. That's your grade. He's done stand-up. He does his one-man show and all that.
He's doing good stuff. Maybe I'll have to have him on the show.
Yeah, I was going to say. And randomly, Rick ran into one of my cousins, Joey and Andrea, down in Florida. I don't know how they met, but they randomly met. My name came up, and he's like, wait, I know who Kyle is, and all that. So that's funny.
Let's see. Les Levin says, instructional resources was a lawless land. Yes, it was. You could do anything down there and nobody would find you. Let's see. Jeff Mecca, I think you're related to him. I think that might be your father. It says you're watching, and he loves the movie Tail. It's great.
Well, he should.
He should. Julie Walker says, hello, gentlemen. Hello, Julie. Happy to have you with us today. Robin Lazara. Thanks, Kyle. All this TFA love.
It's the TFA love. These are some of the students that I was able to work with, and now Robin and Rafi as well. They're both colleagues of mine. Robin, I worked with as a second AD. She's my second AD in the last film that I did, Pricked. She also co-owns with Rafi and a few other TFA people, Sal Natale, Mark, and Brayton. They all do Worklight Media, Lightwork Media, and I teamed with them to do videos for the Italian Cultural Center of Buffalo. Rafi and I had an amazing opportunity to go to Italy this past fall to go shoot stuff for that. So it's going to say they're amazing colleagues and all that, and peers, and they do an exceptional work, both of them.
That's fantastic, and thank you for bringing them to my podcast, because I doubt they know who I am. Aaron Daniel, he's a this is episode 2, and he's a follower for both of them. He's proud to call you family, and love hearing talk about our awesome students. They're doing a great job, and we got some great feedback. So thank you. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to message us or put them in the comments, and we'd be happy to use them. Okay, so Kyle, you are a huge component of the Buffalo Niagara Film Commission. I think it would be safe to say that any time that the commission in Buffalo needs to have something done, you may be one of the go-to people to get the people they need for this. So why don't we talk a little bit about the Buffalo Niagara Film Commission and what their purpose is in the region.
So Buffalo Film Commission, which includes Tim Clark and his deputy, Rich Wall, they are 2 wonderful folk, and they are a huge reason why we actually have Hollywood in Buffalo, why we have films that we can make careers in Buffalo and not have to go to New York or LA or Atlanta, that these students can come out of Buffalo State and start working on films and getting internships and getting into unions and stuff like that. They're hardworking individuals. And from back when I graduated in 2013 till now, I was able to gain a really good relationship with them. And was kind of like on the ground up, because before then, I think we had Henry's Crime come through during our TFA stay. And then we got into television and film, or we got into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came, and which actually, this is where this cup's from. And that's a Buffalo Film Communion. And then
New York loves film.
On the back, it says, I closed a busy highway in Buffalo, the 33, and all I got was this lousy mug. So that's one of the originals there. So we were able to work with that, and I gained an amazing relationship with them. And we really do owe as a film community, and even as an economic gain as a community in general, a lot to Tim and Rich. And yeah, I've just been lucky enough that I've impressed them enough that when a film comes here, I'm on their list that they slide over to people, and I'm lucky to get phone calls when I do. And I think it's because I suck up to them as much as I am right now.
Well, you got to do it. You got to do it, and well, maybe this will accidentally be emailed to them afterwards.
Yeah. Right.
So you've worked on probably close to every single big budget Hollywood film that's come through the area in some capacity. I know that sometimes you work as a production assistant, which is like the lowest level. Yeah. Just in the grand scheme of things, it's like an entry-level position in the film. You get to work on the set, assist people where they need it. Day-to-day routines can change. Set production assistants work on the set, office PAs, do like the office administrator tasks. So you've done some of that. You've also assistant directed, which is a pretty big feat. And for those of you who may not know, that's when you pretty much work with the director. You do scheduling. You make sure that everything is ready to go. And sometimes it also includes working on wrangling talent. Am I right? Is that
something? Yeah, that would be second. Yeah.
Second. Then you've also worked in casting, which is really, really cool. We're going to talk about casting in a couple minutes real quick, but I want to go back to probably one of the most well-respected films that was shot in Buffalo, which is Marshall.
Yeah.
Marshall. That was a film, and I think I am the only person in Buffalo history to have been hired and fired on that film twice. Not because I did anything wrong. I did nothing wrong, but it was just weird. But yeah, so Marshall, how long was that in Buffalo?
So they were here for what, 4 months, something like that. And I was lucky enough to be recommended as, because a lot of these films, and that film was a tier 2, I think. It was about $15 million for that film.
Can you explain the tier system? Like
So,
maybe what the break is?
yeah, so it's changed a little over the years, but basically, depending on budget, you have different tiers of different films. So if you have like a tier 0, which is basically like a million or million to like 5 million or something like that. Tier 1, 5 million to 10 million. Tier 2, 10 million to 20 million, and then it goes it keeps going up until you get majors, and then you have the majors that come in, which are like A Quiet Place 2, Nightmare Alley,
Sure.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those are your majors because they're studios and their budgets are insane compared to us. So I was able to have the opportunity to interview for extras casting for Marshall, and a lot of these films, since they're smaller films and they're indies, these are indie films.
Yeah.
There's no real studio backing. These are just independent companies or people who want to make a film. A lot of it, they look for people to do the casting locally for extras casting and stuff like that, because especially for Buffalo at the time, there was no one here. There was no one to go to, and they felt instead of going to New York City or Pittsburgh or Cleveland to have someone come in and try to attempt to do the extras casting, they wanted to give the opportunity through Rich and Tim, which is something that they love to do, is if you're going to come here to film a movie, you have to hire and be able to bring in the people that we have here, because we are able to do it. Why not use the resources we have?
Sure.
Was to hire local to do it. So I interviewed and I ended up getting the job for Chris Bonjourne, who was the producer and UPM on that, and to do Marshall. So I did extras casting for Marshall. And then I met who are now my colleagues and partners in casting Buffalo. I met Harry Lipsitz and Peter Johnson. So, and I brought them as my casting assistants. Peter was helping out Frank Rossi, who was doing the local casting, which is like a lot of the smaller speaking roles. So they're like the day players. So, a couple days in there, 5 lines or less, stuff like that. He had an opportunity helping him, and then I brought him over to help with casting here, because we were casting like 700-800 people for this show. And not only that, but Marshall was set in the 40s, so it was a lot of you're casting for type and look and who can fit in the clothes, because the clothes were a lot smaller back then, and just like, so it's just who can fit, who would look in it, who didn't have a gigantic beard, who didn't, that fits the look. And I had this amazing opportunity to work with Ruth Carter, who was the costume designer, and Ruth Carter went on to win an Oscar for her work for Black Panther.
Yep.
And she'd been nominated multiple times, and I still remember she was one of the first meetings I ever had doing this for the first time, not knowing what I'm getting into. And I sat down with her, and I had probably a 2-3 hour meeting with her. And literally she was holding my hand, like, let's figure it out, because I want to be able to bring in the best look that I possibly can. And for me, as I've always really, really respected costume designers and makeup artists and stuff like that. So for me, it's another part of the art of this film.
Yes.
And for me, I looked as background for a 1940s film as that it is its own art department. We're a part of production design. We're a part of costume design because it's 40s. They're wearing the costumes. They're wearing the production. And I had an amazing opportunity to sit down with her multiple times and go over and share ideas. And we were able to, bond, and our visions were very, very similar and match and stuff like that. And even so that she was calling certain people that she used to work for to help me out and stuff like that. And I received a phone call probably daily from her. Just, hey, how's everything going? It wasn't necessarily, do you have stuff for me, but just how are you doing? How are you handling it?
Very supportive.
And it was very, very flawless. Once we started bringing the people in, we were able to bring everything that she needed. Me and her, she would fight for me for different things and with the director and stuff like that. If it was some specific look and all that, she wanted something to look a certain way, she would fight with me to make sure that the proper thing was done for the time period and stuff like the serve and all that. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Speaking of Ruth Carter, she is actually highlighted in a Netflix documentary called Abstract. It's a series of shows that dedicate each episode to a different person in the arts. And as an art teacher myself, I actually like to recommend this to my middle schoolers to watch at home, because they're able to see that people are able to take art and utilize it. And you just said how important it is that the 1940s look be established throughout the entire film, along with casting, along with the costume design. They all work hand in hand. And if you're unable to do that, the project would not have been successful. I would assume you'd agree.
No, not at all. No, it was.
So Ruth,
oh, it was insane. And and someone, Reggie Hundlin, who directed it, it was very cool because Reggie was very open to your opinions on your departments. So he respected what you were doing and stuff like that. And he respected Ruth a ton. And I think through her kind of mentoring me and stuff like that, that I gained a lot of respect for with him, with Reggie, so much so that usually, and it depends on director. A lot of the times you have directors who will sit there and say, like, I want to see every single face, even for background, because I want to prove it.
Sure.
But or certain where they're not a speaking role, but they're a featured background person, and I want to see the face and I want to be able to do it. And Reggie was one of those things where if I had a conversation with Ruth and Ruth approved it and I approved it and we came up with a good idea, he would roll with it. And he might not even see that person until the day before or something like that. He would just want to see a photo on the phone and be like, yep, good. And we never had an issue and something like that. And it was a really, really unique experience.
I think that also speaks to a testament about your work ethic. I mean, you are somebody that they had never met before this.
Yeah.
And you come into a multi-million-dollar Hollywood film, and you're pretty much given almost a blank check. Like, it's like, here you go. We need to find these people. We trust you. We like what you have. We like your eye for it. And we're able to really be able to see that you know what we're looking for and we can trust you. I think that's a lot. So, Kyle, you talk about casting. Now, just recently, you launched a business right before this COVID-19 pandemic.
Of course.
So, because if it wasn't for bad luck, you and I would have no luck. So,
Exactly.
Can you talk a little bit about your new endeavor?
Yeah, so Casting Buffalo has been a long time coming. And like I mentioned before, my partners and co-owners are Harry Lipsitz and Peter Johnson. We met back actually on 2 for 1, was shot here 2015. Yeah, fall 2015. And that was directed by John Abrams. And John Abrams directed it. Matthew Quinn, who's another local director of photography and really good friend, he was the DP. Matt Fleck and Bethany Hedges were UPM and first AD on it, and we needed extras casting there, and Harry and Peter did extras there. So I met them there, and I got to see their work ethic there. Then came Marshall. We worked on it together, and throughout the years, we've actually remained very, very good friends. And when casting comes through Buffalo, it's one of the three of us usually doing that. And like, we also have, like, from the theater community, we have Darlene Pickering Hubbard and stuff like that. And that we're, and Paulette Harris and stuff like that, who we go to for help, or they will do it as well. But we've always about keeping relationships and keeping together. And we kind of felt like after all these years, why are we staying in competition with each other, even though we really aren't? Why not just form a solid conglomerate, a solid thing? Because we kind of got sick and tired of sitting there. Something that, what I mentioned before, that, the film commission has been really, really strong about, when you come to Buffalo, you hire Buffalo.
Yeah.
And, we had
so it's doing its job. That's
yes,
what you're telling
me. And, we've had films come through here, like A Quiet Place 2, who look to New York City to hire New York City for casting. And when one of our things is, well, why? We didn't even get to interview for that one, and it was just like, okay, we get it, because it's a major motion picture. You don't know any of us. You're going to go with someone that you already so-and-so had the connection. But we also want to be able to come up in the search engine, to come up through recommendations through these people, that once these movies come through, they sit there and say, listen, you don't have to go through some of the 1 million companies that are in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
There's one in Buffalo. And especially for extras and for day players, they know their crowd. You guys have no clue who you're casting. You have to come here and start from scratch right off the beginning. And that's something that happened with Nightmare Alley, and that's what's, the film that was going to shoot in Buffalo, which is now on pause, Bros, is the same exact thing. They reached out to another company in New York. They came in here, and us putting together was that we want to create a basic one place that you can go to in Buffalo, and this is where you go, and we'll provide it all. And not only for these majors or these indie films, but commercially for the commercials, the local companies and stuff like that, that we've already worked for, like for Honey and Punch and ND Studios, and trying to work with them and really have a place that they can focus and look at. So we've created Casting Buffalo, and if you check out our website, I created the website and tried to make it as easy as possible for someone who wants to be in a film. So if you want to be in the film, this is what we are. And how do you join? You join our network, which is, we tell you the steps that are laid out. All you're basically doing is emailing. You're filling out a profile, which is your basic who you are, what you are, all your information that we need, that we can cast you upon. And then headshots, photos, resumes, if you have it. If you're a child, a performance permit, how to get the performance permit if you don't have it, and all that. If you're a minor, and try to join our network, because a lot of the times it isn't just, oh, we need someone who can act. It's, we need a certain look. So for extras, for commercials, for business things that they might be doing advertising, which is just, they're doing a Mother's Day commercial and they want a real mother to talk. Who can we go to? Who has a certain appearance that we're looking for?
Who's the type? Who has what you're looking? That's great. So if you want to join, all you have to do is go on the website, castingbuffalo.com. It's at the bottom of the screen if you're watching, or if you're not, it will be in the description in the playback. And you can take all that information, because you may have the opportunity of being cast in one of these giant Hollywood films that come through the area. And I think that that's a great opportunity for people. Now, there's a lot of really cool things. You talked about film unions earlier, and I don't want to get too in depth in this, because some of it's very meticulous and dull. But let's say the Screen Actors Guild, a film comes into Buffalo, and up until maybe 5 years ago, films really didn't come to Buffalo. It wasn't. I mean, maybe once in a while they'd go to Niagara Falls because it's one of the 7 natural wonders. Maybe they'd go up to Canada or Toronto. It was a little more well established. Maybe even Rochester, because they had a studio up there. But they come to Buffalo. How are you able to take a union picture and get these people to work in union roles?
I think when it comes to Screen Actors Guild, when we started with Marshall, there was no real screen actors here, no SAG people. And we had a handful that a lot of people already know. And if I mention their names, like Josie DiVincenzo, I mean, like Joey Jambra, who unfortunately just passed away from this entire COVID situation.
It's very sad to hear about that.
These are staples, and they're staples in the theaters communities, and they've been there for a year and all that. But outside of that, we really didn't know, and who. And a lot of these films coming in were, well, SAG says that you have to hire screen actors, the SAG actors first. It's part of their union and their reps and all that. So when we made Marshall, we kind of planted the seed to that. And since then, we've probably had over 100 people easily in the area become SAG members and had the chance to become SAG members from jumping on films to films. And I still say to a lot of these people that I talk to in LA and New York and stuff like that, some of these people will take years to try to get into the Screen Actors Guild. And people in Buffalo, you might have a very, very good summer between in Buffalo and Syracuse, and you can join.
Yeah.
So we go ahead.
Sorry, go. No. Just so in case you're not aware, the Screen Actors Guild is the union that helps actors get work. It looks at contracts and makes sure people are paid fairly, just like in any other arts endeavor. It's somebody that's out there looking looking out for the individual who is going out and to do these shoots. So if I remember correctly, because I was in charge of doing this when I line produced a TV show a few years ago, there's a not a loophole, but a way that somebody can get into the union, and that's through a Taft-Hartley.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And the Taft-Hartley goes back to early 1900s, where union labor had to be hired in factories first. If you were unable to find union labor and somebody had the skill set that you needed, you could Taft-Hartley them into the union so you could hire them. So essentially what Marshall did was that it Taft-Hartleyed a pool of actors into the area that years later would make your job much easier.
Correct.
Very cool. So I think that you brought up a good point that, if you have an inkling to do acting, Kyle said it doesn't necessarily always mean that you have to be the best actor. Maybe you have a unique look. This is an opportunity for you.
As long as you can take direction. You can take direction. You can listen. You can sit around for hours and hours and hours and be okay with reading a book, in which I got to say that probably this pandemic is teaching a lot of people that if you can do this, you can be a background actor.
Yeah.
But you can also
Time
act.
to kill. Hurry up and wait.
So I mean, it's an amazing opportunity, and why not? You know what I mean? And you get paid for it. It isn't like it's something where you're just doing it for free. With us, with Casting Buffalo, is we're making sure that we're only taking jobs that pay. Jobs that are either associated with unions or stuff that gives really good commercial work and where you're making a payday for it. Because everybody needs to make a wage, and what we do is just as important and on a film set as compared to anybody else and all that, and any other union and stuff like that.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's and like I said, it's easy to join. We might send you emails to see what's going on, or we might just randomly reach out to you and say, hey, we look through our system and our network, and we think that you'll be a perfect fit for this.
And that's through the Casting Buffalo.
And that's through the Casting Buffalo. And not only that, but it's about, we also want to connect with the theater community really, really bad in Buffalo, because for some reason there's this, we're on basically the same train tracks, but we keep missing each other. Someone's flipping the switch last minute, because we want to really jump into that pool of actors, because there's amazing talent in Buffalo.
There is. Buffalo, not only is it the city of good neighbors, but it's also an area that traditionally has fulfilled its motive, or its need for art. The culture here is great. So it's great to be able to have a film community start to develop in the last couple of years and really make it so that it works out for everybody. So Kyle, we already got a couple more minutes, so I want to touch base on a film that you made in the Western New York area a few years ago, entitled Dwelling. And Dwelling had its DVD release, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
It's been a while. And you can purchase it on Amazon as a DVD. And is it on any platforms right now?
I think it's on Vudu. It's on Amazon Prime right now. So actually, you can choose to buy it, or you can just watch it on Prime if you have a Prime account. And that for me, it's the easiest way. I'm happy it's there, because 3 years removed, this movie wasn't really about making money going into it. It was about getting my vision out there and trying to connect with people and stuff like that, and showing that this is something that we can make as a Buffalo film community. And we did. It was a lot of the same players that you've heard and that I brought up before helped make this film. And it was about getting it out there. And it's out there now, and you can jump on it right away, and you can purchase it, and you can watch it wherever you want. I think it's on Vudu, it's on Amazon, and I think iTunes as well. And
And the really cool thing about this project too is that Kyle was able to do it by the networking that he accomplished
Yeah.
while he was working in the film community. So Dwelling, it's available on Amazon. There's a link in the description that you can click. It'll take you right to the page so you can purchase it. It's a great a late summer night film. It's eerie. It's thrilling. I was lucky to see it at the world premiere at the North Park Theater as part of the
Biff.
uh,
Buffalo
Buffalo International Film Festival. It's a fantastic film, and I highly encourage you to check it out, and you will not be disappointed. So, Kyle, in closing, you and I have a favorite movie that every year or so on Facebook I will post a year ago thing, and that film is Jaws. And Jaws, to me personally, is one of the greatest films ever written.
Oh, yeah.
I was scared out of my mind of it when I was younger and I would watch it. But Jaws is great. So we got to do this for everybody to see if we still got it. Uh, and I think you'll know where I'm going. Looks like it's 20 feet.
25.
3 tons on him.
I literally did that quote today.
20 feet. 25. 3 tons on him.
we were moving in a new bookshelf today, and I forgot Becca made some comment about the length of the thing, and I'm just like 25, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "We literally watched it the other night."
You know, and I don't. Have you ever read the book?
No, I haven't. No.
So the book is so different, and it really goes into a whole.
Goes into like mob stuff, right?
And there's
affairs
an affair. It's great reading. I have it. You should borrow it. But anyway, Jaws. If you haven't watched it, you should.
It's very relevant right now as well.
I never thought that on Memorial Day weekend I'd hear close the beaches. You have to open the beaches. Close the beaches. And back in 1974 when Jaws premiered, close the beaches. You can't close the beaches. It's great. So Kyle, I want to thank you very much for being my second guest here on Why Bother. It's been great. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I enjoyed having you. Ladies and gentlemen, please do yourself a favor and purchase Dwelling. It's available on Amazon. You can click the link in the description to purchase your copy if you haven't done so already. And if you already have purchased it, purchase a second one and give it to a friend. Actually, buy them out. Just buy 100 copies of it and give it to all your friends, because you know what? Chances are your Christmas shopping is going to be done on Amazon anyway this year, so get it done early. So Kyle, thank you very much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you, John.
It's been fun. Great catching up with you. So ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to talk to you again on our next episode. Coming to you soon. Take good care. Be safe. Love yourself and others. And make sure you cut your front lawn, because if you don't cut your front lawn and your neighbor cuts their front lawn first, you're going to be a bad neighbor. And we're in the city of good neighbors. Take good care. Thank you very much. Till next time.